First of all, I want to welcome everybody to the August 28th meeting of the CMCR investigators. And today we are very, very privileged to have a pioneer in the cannabis research field join us, Professor Mahmoud ElSohly. And Mahmoud, I'm going to ask Tom Marcotte, our co-director, to give a little bit more glowing introduction, shall we say? Okay.
No
So,
glowing is needed.
but Mahmoud, it's so wonderful that you could
Thank
join us.
you.
We
I'm,
really
I'm,
appreciate it.
I'm always delighted to be with CMCR. I have all the respect and the love in the world for all of you guys. So I'm
Good.
delighted to
Well,
be with you.
thank you. Feeling is mutual. Okay. Um,
Yes,
so, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
no, I was just going to say, Mahmoud has been a long-time friend of the CMCR since our inception back in 2000, right? I
That's
believe
right.
you and Ham visited the
Yep.
farm and so forth. So there's a really long-term relationship here. So
Yep.
more formally, just let me say that Dr. ElSohly is a research professor and professor of pharmaceutics and drug delivery at the National Center for Natural Products Research in the School of Pharmacy at the University of Mississippi. He's director of the NIDA Marijuana Project and president and lab director of ElSohly Laboratories Incorporated. He spent more than 50 years working with the isolation of natural products and has over 40 patents, well over 400 publications, mainly on cannabis and cannabinoids. We always look to him as a resource of knowledge and advice regarding future directions and so forth. So, Mahmoud, we're really thrilled to have you join us and talk about a new endeavor by your university.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be with all of you, and I look forward to a good dialogue today and continue our dialogue and our relationship and association and collaboration in the future. I think I'm already serving quite a number of investigators in the CMCR, and it's a delight to be working with all of you. So maybe we can go ahead and get the slides rolling. I'm not sure who's running the.
So Sean Ryback, our IT expert, is going to control the slides for you.
Okay, well, I'm here today to present to you the new resource center that we have here at the University of Mississippi, what we call the R3CR, which is the Resource Center for Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research. This is the newly funded center that was, supposed to have been started in January, but really didn't get rolling till sometime in April or so. But we are on our way right now to getting everything in place. So I am this is a multi-PI undertaking that funded by NCCIH, but there are collaborating or interested parts of other institutes within NIH that are mentioned here on the slide. The name of the people there that are on the title is everybody that's participating in this center. Dr. Ikhlas Khan, who is the director of our Natural Product Center, is the main PI or the contact PI, but myself and Dr. Nandu Sarma from the USP, United States Pharmacopoeia, and Dr. Mary Payne from Washington University are also PIs, so it's a multi-PI center. Next slide. So, why has been more interest lately in the cannabis? And of course, there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of research and development activity of drugs and products from cannabis that are going on right now. And then the state programs, whether it's medical or adult use programs, they are, a lot of states have those. And then, some of the products on the market, safety of non-psychoactive cannabinoids in the food and dietary supplement area that have, shown up as a result of the 2018 Farm Bill. The R3CR established by NIH as a comprehensive resource center is a U24 mechanism, which is a 5-year collaborative agreement, but of course is funded 1 year at a time, and there is within that there is sub contracts that have to be taken care of, and we'll get to that when we get in the body of the presentation. That R3CR is a is a partnership between the University of Mississippi, our National Product Center, United States Pharmacopoeia, and Washington State University together as a team to take on this activity with a lot of very specific things done by each organization, but together we make the center the way it's supposed to be. Next slide. The other participating institutions in this undertaking is National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, which is the actual funding agency. That's where the money is coming from. But other participating institutes within NIH that have really interest in this program, of course, NIDA, National Institute on Drug Abuse, and then National Institute on Aging, and the National Cancer Institute. So each one of those agencies does have a place and does have a voice in the direction and the activities going on with the R3CR. Next slide. Now, in the next few slides, each one of those agencies or centers, institutes or centers, there are some areas of interest, and I think the investigators that will be interested in receiving some funds from the R3CR need to really be aware of the areas of interest of those different institutes and centers, because whatever they're going to funds they're going to get, it has to be in the area, or not in the area directly, but in support of areas of interest for those different institutes or centers. So it's very important that things that I have on those slides for people to keep those in mind as you try to request seed funds from R3CR. NCCIH is interested in the effect of minor cannabinoids and terpenes in the cannabis plant as it relates to pain and nociception. We're also interested in mechanisms by which minor cannabinoids and terpenes may affect pain pathways, including cellular molecular signaling pathways and neuroimmune interactions or innovative regulatory pathways related to pain. So NCCIH is really mainly focused on pain, and then interactions between the microbiome and the minor cannabinoids and terpenes, and then how specific terpenes might influence potential analgesic mechanism of understudied minor cannabinoids. There is a multimodal approach here to analgesia that includes minor cannabinoids and terpenes that NCCIH is interested for investigators to pursue, those areas. Next slide. NIDA, of course, is interested in the development and validation of standard measures for activities, and then also interested in effects of cannabis and cannabinoid exposure on brain structure and function, and development prenatally and throughout the lifespan of the individual, as well as other health and social outcomes. NIDA is interested to evaluate the therapeutic potential of cannabis and cannabinoids alone or in combination with other treatments for pain, substance use disorders, substance use comorbidities such as IV. Next slide. NIA, National Institute on Aging, is interested in recruitment and retention strategies, population-specific measurement tools, culturally appropriate considerations to support research in diverse and understudied populations across the lifespan, including older adults and those with cognitive impairments. NIA is interested in the effect of cannabis and cannabinoids in the context of aging, including but not limited to understanding mechanism of cannabis and its constituents in the setting of pain and nociception, age-related cognitive decline and or impairment, Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's disease-related dementias, weight loss and or cachexia, sleep or care in palliative care settings, and in relation to multiple chronic conditions and polypharmacy. These are all things that are really directly related to the aging process and the aging population. NIA is interested in mechanistic understanding of cannabinoid signaling and changes in signaling with aging to enable development of therapeutics that can benefit health across the lifespan of the human.
Are you meeting? Are you in a meeting?
I'm sorry? Are you talking to me?
The person who got muted. Sorry, they were just interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So long as you can hear me, it's okay. Now, the NCI is interested in generation of scientific evidence. And there's been a lot of talk about cannabis and cannabinoids important in cancer, but NCI is basically interested in the generation of scientific evidence and best practices to support the planning and execution of cannabis and cannabinoid clinical trials in cancer patients and survivors. For example, validation of measurement tools, addressing issues tied to IND applications, and enhancing diversity of cannabis products for research purposes. Next slide. Now, how does the R3CR work? What is the strategy that we have in there? We have created 3 cores in that proposal that we submitted to NCCIH, and that is we have a regulatory guidance core, which I'm heading that core here at the University of Mississippi. Then we have a research standards core, which is headed by Dr. Nandu Sarma at the USP. And then we have the research support core, which is at Washington State University with Dr. Mary Payne, heading that effort. The regulatory core and the research standards core will generate data and information and best practices, research standards and regulatory guidance. And all that information will be fed back to the research support core, which will then be propagated to the scientific community through different types of social media, dynamic website and social media and conferences, workshops and webinars. And we already started this presentation I'm making for you today is part of that dissemination of the information from this. And then we have we have a relationship, or the research support core have a relationship with the Association of Cannabis Research Centers, which I do believe that CMCR is one of those centers in that association. And we have a new center here in Mississippi that also just joined that group, and the other, I think there's maybe 18 or more different centers around the country. So we'll be disseminating the information through those centers. The research support core will also be administering seed grant funding. That's the one I was talking about, that anybody applying for the seed grant will really need to be aware of the areas of interest of the different institutes and centers that are participating in the funding and supporting of this center. Giving those funds away is going to have to be more or less approved or okay with the different institutes and centers that are participating in the funding of the R3CR. We're going to do it after we release the RFP. We review the proposal, announce the recipients, and then issue the funding. And next slide will show a little bit more. The budget for seed funding is registration support and proposal development through the issue of the seed funding for the appropriate research community. That seed funding is intended to support non-research activities. For example, regulatory activities to do, deal with the barriers to conduct future research projects within the field in line with the interests of the NIH partners, as I mentioned, institutes and centers that I mentioned before. That seed funding might not exceed $50,000 a year, and that includes both direct and indirect. And the total value of this seed fund sub-award should be negotiated prior to sub-award with NIH approval, as I mentioned before, and provided they meet the conditions outlined in the grants policy statement that is cited here. Next slide. So again, the seed funding is $50,000 total cost per award. We are supposed to give 8 awards a year, beginning in year 2, because year 1 is when we're getting everything going, and we'll have the RFP, and which is scheduled to be released sometime this summer. We are in the pretty much in the final stages of developing the RFP and getting all the conditions to advertise for people to apply. And the funds, again, the funds are intended to support the logistical barriers to conduct research in the cannabis area that align with stated interests of our NIH funding partners. First request for applications will be released during the summer of this year. So we would like for you investigators to check the website, and I'll mention that, I'll show you that in a minute. And join our mailing list if you would like to, and follow us on social media and upcoming details. Early stage investigators. We intend to have early stage investigators to be invited to on the review panels for those proposals that will be coming in. But it's going to be very important for anyone applying for the seed funds to really know the interests of the institutes, partner institutes, and to make sure that their proposal that they intend to develop is lined up with the interests of those institutes. Otherwise, it's not going to make it. So, but it's not going to be to do any actual research activity, any lab work or any clinical work, but things that are peripheral to the application that are needed. And I'll have some examples of those in a minute to be able to make your project successful. Next slide. Okay, here are the areas that would be considered for seed fund grant application. And we're going to have those put on our website with the RFA and all the conditions that needed for that. Those areas will be, for example, DAA, state, USDA, FDA, and other regulatory costs. That this will be eligible for those seed fundings. For example, investigation new drug applications, what you need to do for that. Security consultants or security issues, registration fees, costs associated with handling and storing of controlled substances and non-controlled substances, and cannabinoids. For example, cabinets, safes, security systems, freezer, refrigerator, clinical test article storage, and all related equipment and supplies, balances, inventory control, environmental monitoring. All those kind of things would be eligible. You're going to have those things to be able to do research with cannabis. So the seed funding would be to help you to have the infrastructure that you need to have to be able to do research with cannabis. Proposal development. In the area of proposal development, you can get money to study design cost, consultants, grant writers, if you have somebody to help you with writing your grant. Training, education costs, workshops, conferences, and so on will be also eligible. And information management systems would also be eligible for funding. Next slide. We're going to have on-site online resources. This is the website for this grant will be the R3CR.org, and the website will feature checklists for requirements based on natural nature of the project, repository for clinical and clinical open access resources, for example, IND requirements, Schedule 1 registration, state regulations, infrastructure requirements, sources of study materials, and regulatory guidance updates that we are going to be making on a regular basis. And I will visit with that in just a minute. And then research standards updates that will be put on the website by the USP, that the lead organization for research standards. Social media, check the website that we have upcoming accounts. Next slide. Those online resources on online media that we will have include Facebook. Next slide. And you will have those slides so you can look at that. But basically, R3CR is the main website that will, from there, you can reach out to other places. We have LinkedIn will be there. Next slide. Instagram will be on Instagram. Next slide. And we also be on YouTube. So there's a lot of online resources that will give you the information and disseminate those information and things that you need to know through any of those online resources. Next slide. We're also going to be carrying out education webinars and workshops, and to navigate resources with cannabis research, find updates on regulatory guidance and research standards, network with other cannabis researchers around the country and federal officials, for example, NIH and FDA and DEA. And that will be done virtual or live, in-person conferences before, during, or after for example, the ICSB, this is the international center for the botanicals that we have here in Mississippi. We have a meeting every year in April time frame, and then the CRC. This is the one in Colorado. And then, for example, the ASP and the ICRS, all those meetings, we're going to have a show there or some activity there. Like I said, this presentation I'm making right now, I've already made it at the ICRS in Indiana. And I also made another presentation at the ASP, the American Society of Pharmacology. So I think it's very important, which was actually in Michigan. And so we will be in different places. And the presentation I'm making for you today is part of that dissemination of information. We'll like up to 4 events per year, and you can check those on our website and social media. And the website again is r3cr.org. And there will be updates on those webinars and seminars and things like that. Why do we do that? To learn how to overcome roadblocks in cannabis research and interact with potential collaborators to improve impact of the project. Next slide. This on the, I mentioned to you, there is probably 18 or so. It is for 8, 12, maybe more than that, because we do have some other centers that are in that association. The mission of the association is to advance high-quality research on the impact of cannabis on health, coordinate across cannabis research centers to identify key gaps in cannabis-related research, and communicate association efforts to the broader research and health communities. These are the current members here, and of course, CMCR is University of California, San Diego is one of those centers. Next slide. So the Research Standards Core, which is headed by the USP, one of the first goals is to develop a peer-to-peer supply network. And we are working very diligently now with Dr. Sharma from the USP to really get to the bottom of what could be done and what could not be done under that peer-to-peer supply network activity. The objective is to enable sharing materials to support collaborative research between institutions. The target base will be researchers and research material providers. For example, the growers that are now there, the NIDA, University of Mississippi, and others who might have products, ElSohly labs for that matter, because we are making research materials for the scientific community. All this will be made known to the researchers so that they have a good idea where to go for which product. Expected outcomes, we tabulate outcomes with companies manufacturing cannabis and cannabinoid research products for quarterly reports to NIH and schedule monthly meetings. We have a monthly meeting with the NIH partner institutes, and we bring them up to date on that. Portals for outreach, the R3CR, of course, website, NIH Cannabis Listserv, NCCIH list of cannabis researchers. I think will be very important, so you know who is working in that area and who is doing what, and so you can find out if you can share materials with other investigators or acquire materials from other investigators, or where you go for particular products that you might not be aware of, otherwise. Next slide. The second goal of the Research Standards Core is to set up biannual virtual meetings, panel discussions, or webinars. The objective of that is to engage with cannabis material providers and related groups. And I think Dr. Nandu Sharma is already contacting all other growers, if you will, or the ones that licensed by the DA to provide materials. The target groups will be DA-approved cannabis vendors and practical guide about laboratories, standards, and metrics for conducting cannabis research. The expected outcome of that is annual document, total number of investigators connected or matched with specific cannabis product vendors, and outcome connections. Practical guide about vendors, laboratories, standards, and metrics for conducting cannabis research. And again, our website, the R3CR website, will be the place to go to get that information. Next slide. The third objective of the group there is to compile a list of analytical methods and best practice guidelines. The objective is to construct database that links to executive nationally accessed databases, standards, and protocols for sharing with the research community. The target group will be standards development organizations such as the USP, ASTM, and so on, FDA guidance, and NIH resources. And the expected outcomes, of course, is a compiled list of analytical methods and best practices guidelines that will be published on the website that we have, with at least one update per month, new information completed and documented. Again, the portal will be the website. Next slide. The next objective of the Research Standards Core is to develop a schedule and plan for publication of manuscripts, analytical method, best practices, and common standards for the research community. Drafting a manuscript to describe the R3CR resources. The target will be researchers and research material providers. Expected outcome will be a manuscript submitted for publication in a peer-reviewed journal. Again, the portals for outreach will be peer-reviewed journals. Next slide. The regulatory guidance core, which is the one that we are going to be heading here in Mississippi, that's to establish a policy clearinghouse to consolidate and link to existing DEA and FDA guidance. We're going to organize regular meeting, and we already had the first meeting with the FDA, and we have the next meeting will be with the DEA in the next few days. Update regarding regulatory information related to researchers. Through the R3CR website, we provide summaries for updates on policy changes related to regulatory environment, solidarity, cannabis research, and extramural community. Next slide. The way all this is going to work, I think I mentioned that early on, that our regulatory guidance core, we are going to be meeting regularly with the DEA and the FDA. We're going to find out the guidances and regulations that they have that are related to cannabis and cannabis research. We're going to make our own interpretations of those guidances and regulations that we see ourselves. But then we're going to take in our regular meetings with those agencies, we're going to validate our own interpretation and understanding of those regulations before we disseminate that information to the scientific community. So when we tell you something on our website, it's not we're just making it up. This is truly what it is, and that's we validated that and confirmed that with the agencies that we're working with, which basically the DEA and the FDA. This validation will be through the meetings that we have, and then we take that information, give it to the research support core, which will then disseminate that information through the website and social media. Next slide. So the outcomes for stakeholders, for the scientific community, we'll be utilizing the best practices, will advance work by investigators and research administrators. For the federal agency, will be a better regulatory compliance by registrants and FDA and FDA IND applicants, better data concerning dietary supplements and foods. And then for the material suppliers, will be high quality cannabis research materials will be widely available. For pharmaceutical companies, will enable novel research studies, will lead to cannabis technology and licensing. And for the federal and state legislators, new research goals will be provided safety data and for information, for informed regulatory pathway decisions by those federal and state legislators. Next slide. So conclusion, during this 5-year program, earnest investigators guided by R3CR will fulfill objectives of the NIH participating institutes and centers. And future of R3CR will be after current barriers to cannabis research are overcome, the R3CR will continue to serve stakeholders in meeting the new challenges that will inevitably develop in this complex field of study. Next slide. These are the people in the R3CR. University of Mississippi, of course, Dr. Khan, our director, and myself. And then we have 3 very important people, Dr. Robert Welch, who is the director of the Mississippi Center for Cannabis Research and Education. That's a new center that will join the association that we talked about earlier. And then Don Stanford, who is my right-hand man with the regulatory guidance core. And then Kim Bird, who is the administrator for that for the whole program. And then from Washington State University, we have Dr. Mary Payne, who is really very well-known scientist in the natural products area. And then Rebecca Cooney and Dina Haidi that are helping her with that activity. And then from the USP, the PI there is Dr. Nandu Sharma. And then he is helped with Amy and Christine, and that represent the team from the USP. Next slide. That's it.